Hi from everybody at Bangert and welcome to our preview for Sage Intacct's release number 3 for 2024. So some exciting things coming in this release, most specifically for our customers, is probably going to be the ability to do joint checks within the system. That is definitely a welcome update. Some other small things like being able to unapply credits, customizing discounts, more easily being able to avoid payments, all in this release. And really looking forward to getting to show you some of those new features. And if you wanted to read the release notes, it's going to be on your login page. You can obviously just click on the read the release notes to go through everything, but we will have videos on all of the main features that are included in this release. And I just wanted to mention really quickly that while you're at it, if you go into company, go to admin and go to your roles, you're probably going to want to go to your admin or administrator role and update your subscriptions to make sure that you have everything turned on for this role, because as per usual, the system doesn't know who's supposed to get the permissions for the new updates. So you will have to go in and manually make those changes. So just wanted to give you a quick reminder on that. And we hope that you enjoy our videos. And as always, like and subscribe.
You may have noticed an announcement like this the last time you logged into Sage Intacct. Enhanced Email Delivery Service with DKIM is now available. Basically what that's saying is outgoing emails from Sage Intacct now support an additional layer of security. Security for email really comes in two different forms. You've got SPF, and that's going to verify that the sending server is valid for the listed sender on the email. And then you have DKIM, which is going to verify that the contents of the email match the kind of the wrapper. So you can think of emails as basically an envelope with contents, and both the envelope and the contents are going to say who the email is from. And DKIM just makes sure that the envelope matches the contents as far as the sender. And so when those do match, it passes DKIM security, and assuming either DKIM or SPF pass, your receiving email client is going to determine that it's an email that should be shown to the end user. You also can have them neither pass, and then your email client will determine whether an email should be rejected, quarantined, or just passed through anyway. But it's a good idea to make sure DKIM is set up to ensure that your emails don't get sent to quarantine or get rejected by the receiving email. So to get that set up, you can click on Read the Documentation. It'll take you to the knowledge base articles. We'll also include the link to the documentation in this video description. And here you'll want to send this information to your IT provider. It's going to detail some steps to go through to get to various settings that you need to complete within Intacct. And those are going to be found at Company, Setup, Company. Then you'll want to make sure you're in Edit once that comes up here. You'll go to the Security tab and scroll down to the Email Sender Domain Settings. And then from there, your IT provider should be able to take the instructions in that knowledge base article and complete the setup to ensure that your emails are being accepted by the receiving clients.
As part of Sage Intacct's release number 3 for 2024, we have some updates to the General Ledger module. So we can now delete reporting periods that we no longer need. So if you go to your General Ledger module under the Setup tab and click into your reporting periods, you'll now see this option to delete out any reporting periods that you no longer require. So you can just select them there and delete them out. So that is an update to RGL. And also we now have the option to do fiscal year rollover for document sequences. So you would do this as you normally enter in a document sequence, go to your company module and add a document sequence. And unfortunately, in my environment, I don't actually have that update, but I do have a screenshot of what this will look like once the update comes out. So you have this option now to enable sequence fiscal year rollover. And then you also can decide whether you want to append the sequence to prefix or suffix. And then there is another screenshot I can show you here, which shows some additional formatting that you can do once you have that set up. As part of Sage Intacct's Release 3 for 2024, we have some updated functionality within Accounts Payable. So we can now void payments from the Post Payments screen, and we can also unapply credits more easily. So I'm going to show you in this video twofold how that all works. So from my Applications dropdown, I'll go to Accounts Payable, and under my All tab, I'm going to click into my Posted Payments. So when you get in here, then you'll notice that you now have this ability to void right from this page. So you no longer have to go into your register to void a payment. I can do it right here from my post payment screen. Also, as part of the update, we can easily unapply credits. So this credit was applied without a payment associated with it. So I just apply the credit to the bill, which is why it's coming up here as unapply, which I can just click on, enter in the date that I want to unapply that credit. I can enter in a memo if I wish and submit, and that will bring that credit back available in my pay bill screen. And let's say that you have applied a credit while at the same time making a payment, then what you would have to do is void the payment and put in your date, the memo if you need to, and submit, and that will void the payment while simultaneously making that credit available again within the pay bill screen. So if you wanted to view your credits, so now you have this additional tab in your posted payments which shows you how that credit was applied. So that is also new functionality. A new feature as part of Release 3 2024 for Sage Intacct is that we can now customize discounts within accounts receivable. And this is a feature that customers have been looking for a while, so it's a very welcome update. So to show you how to enable that, we'll go to our Applications dropdown and click into Accounts Receivable. We're going to go to our Setup tab and click into Configuration. Once we get into Configuration, then we'll scroll down, get to our Enable Functionality section, and we have this button here for Enable Custom Discount, and we're going to want to check that off and save. So now that we have that enabled, let's put that into practice. So from my drop down here, I'm staying in my Accounts Receivable. Under my All tab, I'm going to go to Receive Payments New. I'm typing in Amazon as my customer, and I'm going to bring up their invoices. I'm going to select both here and add and close. So here I can see that this particular invoice doesn't have any discounts available. And then this one actually has a discount coming from the terms because they are paying this invoice ahead of time. So what I can do is I can apply my term discount, and this new functionality then is going to allow me to actually edit that discount, so I can put in whatever amount I want. And I can also just apply a discount here on the fly. So let's say I wanted to give them a bit of a discount on this invoice as well. I can do that now on the fly. And I wanted to note that you cannot do both. You can apply either a term discount or a custom discount. So previously we couldn't edit a term discount, and if it was calculating incorrectly, like maybe a cent off, it had to be adjusted. So that is a welcome update that we can now edit that, and that can be customized.
Next, we're going to go through some cash management enhancements that will happen in the 2024 Release 3 update. First one's a simple one, but one that should save some headache and some keystrokes here. What they've done inside cash management, when going into a bank reconciliation, whether you're continuing an existing one or you're going in for the first time, when you go into that bank rec, you'll no longer have to switch your filters over to see all your unmatched transactions. They've changed the default. So in the past, it was just set on showing unmatched for checks. And so a lot of people miss the deposit area of it. So for example, I'm in the preview of the new release. If I select my bank account, and we'll just say I'm doing a bank rec here when this opens up for 11:30, and I'll click continue. You'll notice here it's subtle, but it's definitely something that users have asked for. You'll notice here on the left, the state now is going to say unmatched, and it's going to say, so by default now, it's going to show just your transactions that have not been matched, not have been cleared yet, but all transactions. So any deposits and or checks as well. And just to kind of verify that over in the existing release R2, I can do the same thing here for cash management, and I go to bank, and you'll notice as of today, before this enhancement comes out, is you'll notice here on the left, it doesn't default to all transactions. So it's a minor change, but it will save a lot of headaches and confusion going forward. So be aware of that and check that out. And there's nothing additional you need to do to make that filter, be defaulting to all. So you should be good to go on that. So that's the first step here in that process. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about bank transactions and importing them. So there is a new functionality called Bank Transaction Assistant File, where it's a centralized import that you can do if you're importing your bank transactions manually. This only works for banks, does not work for credit cards, but you can turn this on. And in order to do that, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go into, let me get back to the home screen here. You're going to need to go into top level and go into your subscriptions. So under company, admin, subscriptions, and go down to and you're going to scroll all the way down into the bottom, your Sage Cloud Services. And when you're in your Sage Cloud Services, you're going to be able to enable it if you haven't already. This is also where you can do your bank feeds. So you can enable it overall if you haven't. But if you have enabled it, maybe you're using bank feeds, you can come into configure here. And you're going to see a new button here called Enable Bank Transaction Assistant File Import. It's a long, long title. But if you check that off, that's going to make that function available to you to use. So once you check that off, and you just have to make sure you click Save, and it will enable that functionality. And before you begin, you'll need to make sure that you go and update the security controls so you're able, or your users are able to have access to that. So, as far as security goes, company, top level, admin, and, go into the role that you want to assign your banking role or whatnot. I'm going to use my administrator role. And I'm going to go over to subscriptions, and you're going to notice if you select in the cash management area for your permissions, there's a line here that's bank transactions for API and import. And you're going to want to make sure you have add, delete, view list security for whatever user or whatever user role you want to perform that bank import. Okay. So once that's turned on, you're ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and click Save here. And just like anything else with bank accounts, we're traditionally going to be at top level. So if I go over at top level to my cash management area, under all, you're going to see a new menu item called Bank Transaction Import Files. And you can see here I can hit plus to do a new file, or I can click on the name here to see existing ones that I've already done, what date, how many transactions, and so forth. Okay. At that point, if you're already in this screen, you can just click Add. And what the system's going to do is it's going to ask you which bank account do you want to do the import for. And we'll say we're doing it for our operating account. It will show you the last date you did that, how many transactions, what the amount was. So, just in case you did a duplicate. It will also give you a warning in the next steps if you are importing transactions that are familiar, have the same date, same amount. It'll say, hey, are you sure you already imported this? In this case, we're going to click Continue. What I like about this is it provides a nice wizard for you. And with the R3 version coming out, the enhancements are now you're going to have the ability to import more types of files. In the past, in the prior version, you could only do a CSV file or a QIF file. Now you'll notice here we have all the Excel files you can do, and OFX. There's a lot of different file versions that, something that your bank might, when you click export from your bank, it might come out that way. So you're going to have a lot of different options. And also you're going to notice you have an option for what you want or need your import layout to look like. So they have a 3-column version and a 4-column version. And the difference there is a matter of whether you're going to and let me pull my sample up here. I have a 4-column sample. In this scenario, when I grab it from my bank, it separates by column money in and money out. Deposits, credits, it separates them by column. So I don't need to put negative and positive. So I can use a 4-column. If you use a 3-column, it will know whether it's a money in or money out by a negative or not. So you would just have 1 column there. So again, if you're exporting it from your bank and they send it out to you by default as same column for the amount, just a minus or positive, you can use the 3-column import. What's really nice is if you're unsure, click on this how to set up your file right here. It takes you in there. It gives you examples. It tells you kind of what you need to do here. And you could even download an example template and use that template to start off. Okay. So that's there for you. And again, it's just a wizard here. I have a sample file. I'm just going to import in a few transactions here. Let me just update this date a little bit. Let's go 8/1 here. And let's go 7/5 and just make it a little bit more unique. 7/7 here. So let's save that. Okay. So I'm going to pick my file, and that's a 4-column. I'm actually saving it as a CSV. It could be an Excel file as well. I'm going to select my file, and wherever you keep your file, you're going to browse to it. Mine's right here. And then you can pick how you want your dates to process. So I'm going to use mine's in month, day, year, which is typical. I do like this comment. You can put it in here so you can use it for a reference later on, especially if you're importing a lot of files. And then basically at this point, you're going to click Upload File. And it will go through and it's going to do some verification for you. We'll let that process. And it found one error. Oh, a future date. So I have a future date in here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to change that date. Let's put it back to July. I'm doing it on my other screen. We'll put it back to July. I think it's not letting me do my future there. So let's start the upload again. So it'll verify it for you. 4-column CSV. Select my file, grab it, upload it. Oh, and I gotta select my month, day, year. And we'll just call it test file. Upload. We'll try that again. And once it's done processing, it's gonna verify that you're using the right import. So what it's saying here is, all right, so I'm going to pick a line here. And what is this? Is this a money in or money out? So it's going to kind of make sure and check that you got the columns correct. So you're going to go find that one transaction in your system for $76.50. And you can see here that is money in, right? So let me get that out of the way. So that is money into the account, return lumber, verify. And now it says, okay, these are good, but it does recognize that I have a transaction for the same amount from before. So this is nice too. It'll make sure that you haven't imported the file twice. I'm just doing some demo sample data here, so we're going to go ahead and let that import through. So I'm going to click Import Transaction, and this is going to process. And so it's saying, okay, I'm going to do this behind the scenes. You can go on and continue while I do this. I'll give you a status and let you know when it's good to go in your system. So if I click OK, it's going to bring me back to the main screen. And you'll notice this one's status is still in process. Okay, so we're going to wait for that. And you can see my prior ones are already completed. Those will be in my bank transaction file. These ones will not. So we'll go ahead and wait a few minutes for these, and then we'll take a look at them. Okay, so now with a little time-lapse videography here, transactions are completed on the one we did. So if we go over now to top-level cash management bank transactions, you should now see those transactions that we imported in, which is right here, in the system. And now they can be used as, same as a bank fee transaction that can come in. They can be used to be matched and create transactions from. and all the other functionalities in cash management. So that's available there for you. The final enhancement we're going to talk about today in cash management is a big one. It now gives the system the ability to restrict users by entity for bank recs. So, you know, in the past, you would set up the users. Let's say you have 6 entities, but only want a particular user to get into a couple entities, and they need to do bank reconciliations, which need to be at top level. So they have the ability to go in and do bank reconciliations. So for example, right now, if I go into this demo database here, let me close some of these screens. I don't have it enabled yet. So right now, let's make myself, for example, right now I can see all the entities in the system. So for example, if I was a user that should just be in a few entities, I'm going to go into here in my user setup, and I'm going to have the ability in the user security to secure by entity. So I'm going to give it access to top level because I need to for bank recs, but I should only be in the residential company. Okay, so I'm going to click save here. Now it's going to kick me out once I update my password. Let me remember my password here. And once I make these changes, it's going to kick me out. I'll log back in. We'll go ahead and log back in. And when I log in, you'll notice I don't see all the entities on my list. So that's going to keep me working into only the entities that I have security to, which in this case is just residential, Timberline residential. But if the user, and this is as of today, if I need to do bank recs, I'm giving myself security. You know, we've given me security to do a bank rec, and I can go into cash management and I can go into bank reconciliations. But if you'll notice, I can see every bank account from every entity still. So there was kind of a gap there in that security setup where, you know, I could still go in and do a bank rec for a different entity, even though I didn't have security. For example, GC operating. You know, I can go in and do a GC operating bank rec. Okay. Oh, I turned it on. Okay. So what you could do in the past, but now what you can do is, with this new release that's coming out, you can go into the top level under configuration, and you're going to have a new button in here. And if you scroll down, I apologize, I was in the wrong company. That's why it didn't work. So if I go into cash management configuration, there's going to be a new button here in the configuration under banking called Enable User Entity Restrictions for Bank Account. So you'll need to enable that. You'll check that off. And that little button there is now going to prevent someone like myself, and I'm going to have to give me security again. So let's do this one more time. I did it in the wrong company before. So let's go into users. And let's go into mine. And let's go edit here. User entity. And I'm just going to give myself access to residential, but enable top access. And give myself security to that. Like we did before, it'll sign me out. I'll come into here. And I'll log back in. And now that I have that button enabled, if I go into cash management and I go into bank reconciliation, you'll notice on my list now, I don't see any banks because there's no bank for that entity that I set up. So I can't get into the other company's bank accounts because I only see residential. So I can't get in and do bank rec for another entity's bank account. So that functionality is definitely huge, especially if you have entity level security set up and you have users doing bank reconciliations for specific banks related to only certain entities, you're going to want to enable that. And again, that's going to be under cash management, setup configuration, enable user entity restriction for bank accounts. And then you can proceed to set up your security as you have already in the past, or it might already be set up, but in your user setups, you can define each user which entities they can see. Now I happen to be an admin automatic also, so I can take that out, and now I can see all the entities. So those are the three big cash management enhancements coming out for R3 for 2024 in Sage Intacct R3. And we'll move on to the next section now.
In version 2024 release 3 R3, Sage Intacct Construction has introduced new user type. So if you go to Company, Setup, Admin, Users, let's open one of the existing users here. You'll see on the bottom that we have a new user type called Construction Manager. Construction Manager user type is assigned to users who have access to both Sage Intacct Construction and Sage Construction Management. So there's a separate licensing structure behind the Construction Manager user, and again, allows access for those users to both systems, Construction Management and Sage Intacct Construction.
Hi, I'm Tori, and today I will be showing you what's new within Sage Construction Management as of the Sage Intacct Release 3 of 2024. So first is the storage upgrade of 1 terabyte for all individual and max plans. There's also the improved submittal item dates. So the item dates for materials required on site and design review sections have added to date fields, and so they're going to be automatically displayed down here. And the set number of days in the item dates and materials required on site using lead time, design review time, and internal review time are going to be set to specific review dates. Just meaning whatever you put here, the numbers on this side will change based off of that. The record number in company settings now has a new option, so you can select none. When users select this, they are going to be forced to manually enter record numbers. The user permissions improvements, the classification filter has been implemented on active leads and projects pages, so administrators can filter projects or leads by user, type, and code. Some other improvements is that the company code from Sage Intacct can now be used in Sage Construction Management as of this company profile right here. And the new posting preferences in contact management for customer ID and the vendor ID numbering that use the Intacct doc sequence by default. And that is just some of the new things of Sage CM for the SICK release. If you want more detailed notes on these, you can go to the Sage Construction Management homepage and click the little question mark and what's new, or you can go into Intacct and search for the release notes there.
As part of Sage Intacct's Release 3 for 2024, they have made some much needed updates to joint checks within the system. It's now a more streamlined process, and to set that up, you'll go to your Applications dropdown, click into Accounts Payable. Under your Setup tab, go to Configuration. Once you get into Configuration, then scroll down until you get to your Enable Functionality section. And it's the very last checkbox here for Enable Joint Checks. You're going to want to check that off and save. As far as permissions are concerned, you need to be able to enter bills and pay bills. And I would imagine you already have those permissions assigned to your role, so you shouldn't need to do anything there. Now, at my entity level, I'm going to go into my bills. And if I look at this bill, I'll see that I now have, or any bill indeed, I now have a tab for joint payees. So this subcontract in particular has 2 line entries, and it's memoed on them that Turfnell completed this line entry, but 86 demo were subbed this amount, this $20,000. So within my joint payee tab then is where I would put in the name of my joint payee. So in here, I'm going to put in my 86 demo ink. And you'll notice once I do that, my joint payee print as defaults to Turfnell ink and 86 demo ink. So you can override that there if you wanted to say something else, but that's what it's going to do. You can put in multiple payees. And once you have that in, you post, and that tells the system this bill might require a joint check. So I can pay right from the screen, and I'm going to open that up. So just because you set up a joint payee doesn't mean that you will necessarily use a joint check. So it still does come up. The bill still does come up when you have your payment method of check. But if you want to pay by joint check, you'll do your payment method drop down here and select joint check. And because I've put in my joint payees within that bill, this will come up. So only bills that have a joint payee in will come up here in this joint check payment method. So for this bill or any bill that you're using joint check, you have the option to pay it based off line details or payee details. So let's do line details first. So I have my 2 line entries and I can decide how I want to pay each of them. So for my first line, I'm going to go into my payee line details. I'm going to say, I don't want, this was 100% Turfnell. So I'm going to give them $5,000 for this line. And I'm not going to do anything to Turfnell and 86 demo. So I'm going to save that. And then on my pay line details for my second line, I can split this out. Say I want to give 5,000 of this line entry to Turf, and I'm going to do 15,000 to Turfnell and 86 demo and save that. So that's an option. Save again. Or you can just go to your payee details, and within here, then you can say how much you want to pay to Turfnell Inc. and how much you want to give to Turfnell Inc. and 86 demo. So let me just change that around. I only want to give 5,000 to Turfnell Inc. and I'm going to do 20,000 to Turfnell Inc. and 86 demo. So there are just the 2 ways that you can tell the system to pay. So I'm going to save that then. My bank account is selected and I'm going to pay now. Once I have that done, then if I go to my view payment requests, I can see that there are 2 requests in the system. One is to Turfnell Inc. for the $5,000 and one is for $20,000, and it's going to print as Turfnell Inc. and 86 Demo Inc. Okay, next I'm going to go to my print checks in the system, pre-printed checks, select the bank account, and I have my 2 checks here now. So I'm going to select them both and print. And once that pops up, then the first one remains the same because that was just for Turfnell. And on my second check, it's showing me Turfnell Inc. and 86 Demo Inc. And then I would print that off and then I would confirm. So that is how to use the new joint check functionality within Sage Intacct. As part of Sage Intacct's Release 3 for 2024, there have been some updates to both order entry and purchasing, where we can now easily trace back original source documents. So to show you how that works, I'm going to click into my purchasing module, and under the All tab, I'm going to view my transactions. So for instance, I'll click into my subcontract invoice here. I'm going to view that, and down on my entry screen, I could click on, well, I only have one line item, but you could click on any and show details. And we now have this originating document ID section, which we can click into, which is going to bring us back to our original document for this workflow. So you can easily get back to the original document. If this was the original document, then this would be blank. I wouldn't be able to trace back because it is the original document. So that is available in both the purchasing and in order entry. And then also, as part of Sage's ongoing updates that they're making to Intacct, they have an early adopter program for automating transaction matching for purchasing workflows, which is really exciting because it's leveraging AI to just make life easier for everybody, which is what we love to see. So I can't actually show you within this instance how that's going to work because I don't have it, unfortunately, but it's going to be living within the purchasing module. You're going to see a little section here that's going to be called automated transactions. And it's going to be in both purchasing and accounts payable. And what you'll be able to do is click into that automated transactions section and have the ability to upload vendor invoices, which the system is going to then use AI to read and match them off to purchasing transactions that you have in the system. And you'll be able to go in and either approve the automatic matching that has happened. It's going to go into draft mode, and then you will have the ability to either approve it or edit it. And as you make those edits, the system is going to be constantly learning and updating based off of the changes that you make. And it's just going to make life easier for everybody overall. And it's one of those really exciting changes that's coming based off AI, and we just love to see it. So unfortunately, I can't show you in this instance, but we're really excited about how that's going to make life easier for everybody. And as part of obviously this release, we do have the ability to trace back to our source documents. So stay tuned for some more updates on this release. And as always, like and subscribe.
Next up, one of the major enhancements that are coming out in this release 3 for Sage Intacct 2024 is the ability to convert multiple documents into a single purchasing transaction. Very construction specific, but will be used across the platform. You'll notice it up here. If you're in your home page, you'll see it listed as one of their top enhancements for this release. And basically what we're talking about is giving the flexibility of allowing when an AP vendor sends you a bill, it may be for multiple purchase orders, it may be for multiple subcontracts, all in one bill. You're now going to have the ability to grab multiple purchase orders or subcontracts when converting them into an AP bill. And that's what we're going to go in and show you. You're going to have the ability to do it at the summary level as far as grabbing the whole document, multiple documents at a time and bringing them in, or doing it specifically line by line or item or, purchase order line number by line number. And we're going to go in and show you that. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it and take a look. You can definitely look through it in the notes, in the release notes. There's a bunch of information on it in the release notes now. There's even a little video as well. So, definitely dive into it for sure. But basically, here's what needs to happen. So in your system, you'll be at top level. You need to enable this functionality. So you're going to do that at top level directly in purchasing under setup configuration. Once you're in there, you're going to go into the enable functionality section and you're going to search for, and it should be at the bottom, this right here, enable conversions for multiple source documents. You're going to go ahead and check that off. And then you're going to click save. Now mine's already saved, so I'm not going to worry about it. Now, this does not make the convert method go away. So if you don't have a need for this and you pretty much get billed by purchase order or subcontract, you like the functionality of being able to go into purchasing, go into subcontract list and clicking convert, you're still going to be able to do that and you can still do that method. This gives you an additional option where you can do it directly from the invoice transaction definition or document. So what I mean by that is once you enable that, you're going to be able to go into purchasing and you're going to have a vendor invoice or subcontract invoice or whatever your transaction definition is that's linked to that purchase order or subcontract. And I'm going to use the subcontract one for an example. You're going to be able to come into your subcontract invoices and click the plus button from here. And you're going to be able to select your vendor. So I'm going to pre-fill High Peak Plumbing. And at that point, this is doing this. You're going to be able to click this convert from an existing transaction right from here. So I can click this box right here and it's going to show me all the subcontract documents. Now, I apologize for this. You don't see any here because I am at top level. So my apologies here. Let's jump over to the GC. This can also be a video of what not to do. But we'll come into here, and I'm going to go ahead and try that again. And I'll grab High Peak Plumbing. And now if I click Convert, I see a list of all the subcontract documents out there for High Peak Plumbing. And that is the one caveat here is it's by transaction definition. So I can't take a purchase order and a subcontract and pull them together. I need to grab it from within that transaction definition that it flows over to. So in this case, subcontracts, I can come into here and say, you know what? They're billing me for this project, $950 Best Buy. I can select that, and that will generate that down just like if you converted it into the invoice. And then you can also come back into here again and click Convert again, and then say they're also invoicing me for the new Excel headquarters. So I can select that one, and that will also load that in. And you'll notice here, it's going to store each of the documents, and it's going to grab, if you had multiple document lines, subcontract lines on each of those subcontracts, it would show you all the lines here. I just happen to have one. And then it'll bring all the coding in, and it'll pre-fill in with what's left to convert. Maybe they're not billing you for the full thing here. Maybe they're just billing you for 100,000 of it, so you can do all the changes that you normally could do in the system. So you can do it that way. Now you can also do it, I'm going to start over again. I'm going to click cancel here. You can also do it this way. I can come into purchasing and go into subcontract invoices again, hit the plus button. Same thing, I'm going to grab my vendor, High Peak Plumbing. Instead of selecting it here, I want to pick individual lines because maybe it is a purchase order and there's 10 lines and I'm only picking one of the lines here. So I can come into here into my source document ID. Now, if you do not see this on your entry screen, you can get to it from the details as well, but I would recommend adding it to the view. And so just a little reminder, if you want to add it to the view, you're going to go up to More Actions, Edit Entries Layout, and I already have mine on here, but you would grab it down here and drag it up and put it on that view. Okay, I already did that, so I'm just going to hit cancel here. And now I can hit my drop-down list, and because I selected that vendor already, it's going to show me the subcontracts for that vendor, just like that list we saw before. And you could select it here. If you're unsure of it, you can click View, and it'll take you into that subcontract document. You can see the detail, and you can see the line items and all that stuff like that. And now, once I select that subcontract or purchase order, then it'll say, all right, which line on that document do you want to bring in? And again, I only have one line, but if I had multiple, I could maybe I'm just being billed for one of the lines. And now it pre-fills all the information in. And maybe they're just billing me for 10,000 here. And then I could do the same thing on the next line, go grab a different agreement, grab my line, and that's going to pre-fill in all the coding. And there's 2 jobs there, all in one bill. And I can say they're billing me for 20,000 of that. I can post it. Well, need a vendor document number still, invoice number. Post that in there. And that will post cost to both projects. And my cost coding isn't right on here. I have a smart rule, so we're just going to ignore that for now. Okay, and it's not going to let me because this is set up incorrectly. Yeah, it's going to a group cost code. But anyways, now you have the ability to convert multiple documents, purchasing subcontract documents into one AP bill. Before this release, you really would have to do a separate AP bill for each purchase order or subcontract instead of, so if they sent you one bill, you'd have to separate it. So as soon as R3 comes out, you'll no longer have the need to do that. So you can actually do the conversion this way or keep doing it the same way that you've been doing it before. And that is the enhancement for multiple documents into a single purchasing transaction. Thank you. This next new release, we won't be able to show you firsthand, but I thought it was important to actually talk about it and show you where to go read more on it. One of the big enhancements that's coming out is right here. You'll see it on your home page in Intacct. Automate employee expense receipt submission early adopter. So it's important to know that it's out there, and you can sign up to become an early adopter for that and test the process. So what we can do is you can go into the release notes here in the coming soon area of your homepage, and you'll see it. If you scroll down to basically down, you might be able to find it at the top, but usually I just go right down to the module where it is, which is time and expense. And when you scroll down here in time and expense, you'll see this right here, streamline expense reporting with automated receipt submission. So if we click on that page, it really gives you a good example of what this process does and how to sign up. So basically, employees are going to be able to do is they're going to be able to email in their expense receipts automatically directly to a Sage Intacct specific email address. And what that's going to do is that's going to pull into your system. It will also, using some AI, assist in coding that information based on, patterns in the expenses that they're turning in. And basically, it'll look like this. You'll have a screen here for electronic receipts. You're going to see the information here along with the attachment, and you're going to be able to then go into the system and change the coding, add to the coding, just like you would do normally in the expense area in time and expenses. But now they could just go ahead and log in these receipts as they get them through their phone or through their email in the office, whatever, and it'll accumulate by the user. So it's a really cool feature when you kind of get a taste of where future enhancements will be going with this type of thing. And if you do want to see and test this out, you can go ahead and click right here to join the early adopter program, which will be available for this enhancements once R3 comes out, which will be shortly. So go ahead and sign up and test it out. And you'll notice with beta and early adopter programs, you'll have the opportunity to turn them off at any time. So you can play around with it, then turn it off, then return it off. So give it a look, give it a try, and talk to you again on more releases. One of the releases that we want to talk about that has been talked about in past releases as well is the list enhancements. They continue to be a beta optional turn on for you in the system. So number one, I want to remind you that is still there. And there is also some new stuff they've added to it based on the user experience and the feedback that has been provided. So what you'll see in some of the list areas in the system, mainly in the vendor lists or customer lists, you'll see them throughout. You'll have different places where you can try to turn these on, but the one we'll talk about today is right in the vendor screen. So traditionally, if you want to, make a custom view, change your filters, you have to kind of filter in here. If you want to show every vendor that has the name glass in it, you'd have to put a % and then glass in front of it and then get all your glasses. So that's kind of there today. If you want to make views, you have to switch and create a new view and then edit it from there. So if I want to edit this vendor balances view, I'd have to come into here and edit, and it takes you into this wizard. It's a little clunky to go next. There's a lot of steps to it. So what they have now, what they're going to be coming out with is these list enhancements. And you can see over here on the right, if it's available in this area, you'll see this button over here, turn on list beta interface. You could turn this on and off, testing at will. It will retain your settings, so you won't lose anything as you go here. I'm going to put this back to all. But what you can do is if I come into here and just say, turn this on, it's gonna radically change your view. This is kind of the new list enhancements view that eventually will become standard in the system. But what they want you to do is play around with it, test it, and provide feedback. So as you're going through this, if there's something in there that you like about it, let them know. If there's something in there that you wish they had that's not there, let them know. But send that feedback. And what you'll notice is a very more interactive type of screen where I can literally just take this column and move it back and forth. Okay, before you had to go into that wizard. So that's huge. If you want to add filters, you can do that. What's most important is if I want to see any vendor that has the word glass in it, I don't need the % sign anymore. It'll just do it intuitively. So they've really enhanced the filtering capabilities in here. The other aspect of this that's been in there as well for a few prior releases is the ability to have this side-by-side view. So instead of finding my vendor or whatever list you're in and then clicking on the contact to go into the screen to edit it, you can actually have a side-by-side view. And it's really just toggling this button here to have a list view versus side-by-side. And what's really cool is I can click on the Buffalo Building Company and now it will show me that vendor's record and all the information that's set up on that vendor. If I want to edit it, I can just click the edit button right here, go edit my field. So let's say we're going to add a mobile phone. And I can hit submit and make my saves. And it looks like we got some payment requests in process, so I can't change the record yet. And then you can just move on. So it's really nice. If you want to create a new vendor on the fly, you have this little create button right here. You can do that on the fly. And you can always switch back and forth. When you're done looking at details, you can click on this button and it takes it back and forth for you. Okay? The other thing you can do is easily make your own views. So you have this manage views here. And you'll notice is you'll have these views that are public, but also views that are user specific. So you can now make private views. So if I come into here and I configure my column, I can do that from here. Actually, let's take a step back. Let's go back to manage views and let's create a new, let's start with this view. So I'm going to say create new or save as. So in this case, I want to do a save as, and I'm going to call it my list and do a save as. Okay. And now I can edit that. I can edit that view from here. And in there, you have this shared option. So it's no more of a wizard. It's more of an up and down here, and it's a little easier, but I can make this private or public. And right now it's a private view, so it should only show up for me. And now I can go through this whole thing. I can add columns. I could wrap the columns instead of clipping them. So if I have a vendor name, I just want to wrap that column. I can add, subtract. I could freeze columns, which is huge. Let's freeze the first 2 columns. There's just a lot more possibilities in here. Filters, and the one big thing with filters is it's very easy to add multiple filters and put an or statement in there now. Okay, so this is pretty self-explanatory. It's very visual. I can click save, and now I have a new view from there as well. And then you're good to go. So you can see here now I have wrapping and I have columns that are frozen. And then you can see here my list, and you can see user view is only going to show up for me here, but I can get back to the public anytime I want. So please go in, play with these, turn these on and off. As I turn these on and off, whatever I did while I was playing will remain and come back for me. But when I'm done playing, you can just hit turn off beta. And that takes you back to your normal look out of the box. So, the more feedback that users can provide, the better it's going to be for everybody. And eventually these views are going to be in the system throughout. So please take some time, play around with it, and send in some feedback. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the updates to the user experience that are a part of R3 for 2024. So you might have already seen the option to turn on beta lists, and if you've played around with them already in the system, that is great. If you haven't gotten around to that, then let's just take a look at them now. So I'm going to navigate into my accounts payable and go into my vendors. And this turn on list beta interface up here in the top right, I'm going to click on that and it's going to bring up a whole new view for my vendor list. So here now I have the option to add in columns, move around columns. I can actually freeze columns if I want. Say I wanted to freeze this column, so when I'm scrolling across, it's always going to remain. I can do, let's say if I resize it, I can do text wrapping, for instance, is another new option. So this is a cool new feature, and I was kind of skeptical first when I saw these beta lists, but the more I get into them, the more I am impressed with them. And we have some additional options with our filters here. So let's say, for instance, we have the option now to do a range of, let's say, our total due. So you can go at a specific range of values. And then you also have the option to do an and or operation here for your filters. So wherever you see the beta interface in the system, you can try those out, give them a go. You can always turn them off if you're not liking them. But that is part of the new release. Hi again from me and everyone at Vanguard, and thank you so much for watching our preview videos on Sage Intacct's release number 3 for 2024. So some exciting new updates with this release, and of course there is a lot on the roadmap. There is more exciting features to come, and we are really looking forward to that. We love that the system is constantly being updated and it's not going to grow stagnant. So anything that you want to see as part of the system, drop us a comment, let us know, get that across to us, and we'll shout it from the rooftops. So thank you so much for your attention, and we hope that these videos were helpful. As always, like and subscribe.